Learn to act as if nothing bothers you. Carl Jung. Imagine this. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your boss criticizes your work in front of everyone. A friend betrays your trust. And you feel absolutely nothing. No rage, no anxiety, no sleepless nights replaying what happened. Sounds impossible, right? Like some superhuman ability? Well, what if I told you that one of the greatest minds in psychology, Carl Jung, developed a psychological framework that can help you achieve exactly this state? A way to navigate life's chaos with the calm of a Buddhist monk and the strength of a warrior? Today we're diving deep into Jung's revolutionary concept that can transform how you respond to everything life throws at you. This isn't about suppression. This isn't about pretending. This is about genuine psychological mastery. And by the end of this video, you'll have practical tools that can change your life starting today. So buckle up because we're about to explore something profound. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Prison of Reactivity. Before we understand Jung's solution, we need to understand the problem. And the problem is this. Most of us are prisoners of our own reactions. Think about your last week. How many times did something small completely derail your mood? A text message, a comment on social media, someone's tone of voice. These tiny triggers control our emotional state like a puppet master pulling strings. But here's what's fascinating, and this is where Jung's insights become revolutionary. The events themselves aren't the problem. The problem is that we've given these events absolute authority over our inner world. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who founded analytical psychology, understood something profound about human nature. He realized that most people live in what he called unconscious identification with external events. What does that mean? It means we've merged our sense of self with everything that happens to us, rather than understanding ourselves as the conscious observer of what happens. Imagine you're a boat on the ocean. Most people believe they are the ocean. When it's stormy, they're stormy. When it's calm, they're calm. But Jung discovered something different. You are not the ocean. You're the boat. And more importantly, you're the captain of that boat. The waves will always come. The storms will always arise. But you don't have to capsize every time conditions change. In our modern world, this unconscious reactivity has reached epidemic levels. We're constantly bombarded with stimuli designed to provoke reactions. Outrage on social media, competitive workplace environments, relationship drama, financial pressures. And here's the trap. Every time you react unconsciously, you reinforce a neural pathway that makes it easier to react that same way next time. You're literally training yourself to be controlled by external circumstances. But Jung offered us a way out. And it starts with understanding a concept he called individuation. Chapter 2, Jung's revolutionary insight. So what exactly did Carl Jung discover that can help us act as if nothing bothers us? Jung's breakthrough was understanding that our psyche, our mind, is not a single unified thing. It's actually made up of multiple layers, and most of what controls our behavior is completely invisible to us. Let me break this down in a way that will change how you see yourself. Think of your mind like an iceberg. The tiny part above water, maybe 10%, is your conscious mind. This is the you that you think you are. Your thoughts, your decisions, your awareness right now watching this video. But beneath the surface is the personal unconscious, all your forgotten memories, repressed emotions, and experiences that still influence you even though you're not aware of them. And beneath that, the collective unconscious inherited patterns of thought and behavior that all humans share. Jung called these patterns archetypes. Now, here's where it gets interesting for our topic. When something bothers you, it's almost never about what actually happened. It's about how that event triggered something in your unconscious. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone gives you constructive criticism. The conscious event is simple. Words were spoken, feedback was given. But if you find yourself feeling devastated, angry, or defensive, that's not because of the words themselves. It's because those words touch something in your unconscious. Perhaps a childhood wound about not being good enough, or a shadow aspect of yourself that you refuse to acknowledge. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. This is the key. What bothers you is a mirror showing you your own unconscious material. And here's Jung's revolutionary solution. When you make the unconscious conscious, it loses its power over you. Think about that. The reason things bother you is because you don't understand why they bother you. You're reacting from an unconscious place. But when you bring awareness to those patterns, when you understand the hidden mechanisms driving your reactions, something magical happens. The triggers lose their power. This is what Jung meant by individuation, the process of becoming conscious of your unconscious. It's about integrating all the hidden parts of yourself so that nothing from the outside can pull your strings anymore. But how do we actually do this? How do we go from being reactive to being genuinely unshakable? That's what we're going to explore in the next section, where I'll give you Jung's practical framework for psychological mastery. Chapter 3, The Shadow, Your Secret Weapon. One of Jung's most powerful concepts, and the one that's most relevant to acting. Unbothered is what he called the shadow. And fair warning, this section might make you uncomfortable, because we're about to explore the parts of yourself you've been hiding from. The shadow is everything about yourself that you've rejected, denied, or refused to acknowledge. It's all the parts of you that you've deemed unacceptable. Maybe because your parents criticized them, society condemned them, or you just didn't like them. For most people, the shadow includes things like anger and aggression, selfishness and greed, sexual desires, the desire for power, jealousy and envy, laziness, the capacity for cruelty. Now you might be thinking, but those are bad things. I should reject them. And this is where most people get Jung completely wrong. Jung wasn't saying you should act on these impulses. He was saying that denying their existence makes you weak, because what you don't own consciously will control you unconsciously. Let me explain with a real example. Meet Sarah. Sarah was taught growing up that anger is bad. Nice girls don't get angry, her mother would say. So Sarah repressed her anger, pushed it into her shadow. Now, as an adult, guess what bothers Sarah more than anything? Other people's anger. When someone raises their voice, she feels physically sick. When there's conflict, she shuts down completely. A simple disagreement can ruin her entire week. Why? Because she never integrated her own anger. She made it unconscious. And now it has power over her. But imagine if Sarah had done shadow work. Jung's process of consciously acknowledging and integrating these rejected parts. She would recognize, yes, I have anger. It's a natural human emotion. I don't have to act on it destructively, but I can acknowledge it exists. Once she did this, something remarkable would happen. Other people's anger would stop bothering her so much, because she's no longer unconsciously triggered by what she's denying in herself. This is Jung's genius insight. The things that bother you most are usually the things you haven't accepted in yourself. Are you bothered by people who are attention-seeking? Probably because you've rejected your own desire for attention. Does arrogance in others infuriate you? You've likely disowned your own confidence and self-importance. Do you get triggered by people who seem lazy? You've probably repressed your own need for rest. But here's the beautiful part. When you do the work of integrating your shadow, you become psychologically complete. You're not denying any part of yourself anymore. And when you're not denying parts of yourself, you can't be triggered by them in others. This is how you start to act as if nothing bothers you. Not by suppressing your reactions, but by eliminating the unconscious material that creates reactions in the first place. So here's your first practical exercise. For the next week, whenever something bothers you, really bothers you, ask yourself, what quality in this person or situation am I rejecting in myself? Write it down. Be brutally honest. This is shadow work and it's uncomfortable, but it's the foundation of psychological mastery. Jung said it best. I would rather be whole than good. Stop trying to be good by rejecting parts of yourself. Become whole by accepting all of who you are. Chapter 4. The persona, the mask you wear. Now let's talk about another crucial concept in Jung's framework. The persona. If the shadow is everything you've rejected, the persona is everything you've pretended to be. The persona is the social mask you wear. It's the version of yourself you present to the world. And here's the thing. Having a persona isn't bad. We all need one. You can't function in society without some level of social adaptation. The problem comes when you identify with your persona, when you believe you are the mask. Think about it. How much energy do you waste trying to maintain an image? The successful professional, the perfect parent, the always happy friend, the tough guy, the nice girl. And here's how this connects to being unbothered by things. When you're over-identified with your persona, anything that threatens that mask bothers you immensely. If your persona is "I'm smart," then being wrong about something feels like a crisis. If your persona is "I'm strong and independent," then needing help feels like failure. If your persona is "I'm successful," then any setback feels like an identity crisis. If your persona is "I'm morally superior," then your own mistakes feel intolerable. Jung warned about this. The persona is a complicated system of relations between the individual, consciousness, and society, but it is not identical with the individuality. Translation: you are not your social role. You are not your reputation. You are not the image you've constructed. And here's the liberation in this. When you stop over-identifying with your persona, criticism doesn't bother you anymore. Failure doesn't devastate you. Other people's opinions lose their grip on you. Why? Because you're not defending a false image. You're just being authentically you. Someone calls you stupid. If you're not over-identified with being smart, you can objectively assess, is there truth in what they said? If yes, learn from it. If no, discard it and move on. Someone judges your life choices. If you're not over-identified with being successful or respectable, their judgment is just noise. Someone attacks your character. If you're not defending a persona, you can remain grounded in knowing who you actually are. Here's your second practical exercise. Identify your primary persona. Ask yourself, what image am I trying to maintain? What would feel like a threat to that image? Who would I be without this mask? The goal isn't to destroy your persona. You need some level of social adaptation. The goal is to stop believing you are the mask. When you can distinguish between your authentic self and your social role, nothing can truly shake you, because your sense of self isn't dependent on external validation or maintaining an image. You become unshakable not because you're hard or cold, but because you're grounded in something real. Chapter 5, The Ego and the Self. Now we're getting to the deepest level of Jung's psychology, and this is where true mastery lives. Jung made a crucial distinction that most people miss. The difference between the ego and the self. Your ego is your conscious identity. It's your name, your story, your memories, your sense of I. It's the part of you reading this script and thinking, yes, that's me. The ego is necessary. You need it to navigate daily life. But here's the problem. Most people think the ego is all they are. But Jung discovered something profound. The ego is actually just a small part of something much larger. The self with a capital S. The self is your total psyche, conscious and unconscious, personal and collective. It's the organizing principle of your entire being. It's the you beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the stories, beneath all the reactions. And here's the critical insight for our topic. When you're identified solely with the ego, everything bothers you, because the ego is fragile. It's constantly threatened. It needs to defend itself, prove itself, maintain itself. The ego gets offended. The ego gets jealous. The ego feels inadequate. The ego needs to be right. The ego compares itself to others. The ego fears rejection, failure, and death. Living from the ego is exhausting. It's like being in a constant battle. But when you start to connect with the self, the deeper, larger aspect of your being, something shifts. From the perspective of the self, the ego's dramas become less important. Not meaningless, but less consuming. Think of it like this. The ego is like a character in a movie, constantly caught up in the plot. The self is like the screen on which the movie plays. It's affected by nothing, threatened by nothing, yet it allows everything to be. Jung's process of individuation is essentially about shifting your identity from the ego to the self. It's about recognizing that you are much more than your temporary reactions, emotions, and circumstances. When you operate from this space, Things genuinely stop bothering you, not because you've suppressed your feelings, but because you've expanded your perspective. A criticism? The ego might feel a sting, but the self observes with curiosity. Interesting. What can I learn here? A failure? The ego might panic, but the self understands. This is one experience among thousands in a lifetime. It doesn't define the totality of who I am. Someone's anger? The ego might feel defensive, but the self recognizes this person is expressing their own internal state. It's not about me. So how do you connect with the self? Jung was big on what he called active imagination, deep contemplation, meditation, dream analysis, and creative expression. These practices help you access the deeper layers of your psyche. But here's a simpler practice you can start with. Every day, take 10 minutes to sit quietly and ask yourself, who am I beneath all my roles, all my stories, all my reactions? Don't answer intellectually. Just sit with the question. Let awareness expand beyond your usual identity. Over time, you'll start to experience yourself as more than just the ego mind. You'll touch something vast, something unshakable, something that truly cannot be bothered by the temporary storms of life. This is the self, and recognizing it is the key to genuine psychological freedom. Chapter 6. Practical Strategies for Daily Life. Okay, we've covered a lot of theory. Now let's get extremely practical. How do you actually apply Jung's insights in your daily life? How do you act as if nothing bothers you when you're stuck in traffic, dealing with a difficult person, or scrolling through social media? Here are 7 Jungian strategies you can implement starting today. Strategy 1. The pause. Jung emphasized the importance of creating space between stimulus and response. This is about inserting consciousness into the automatic reaction loop. Next time something triggers you, don't react immediately. Pause. Take 3 deep breaths. In that pause, you're activating your conscious mind instead of your unconscious conditioning. Ask yourself, is this my shadow being triggered? Is this my persona feeling threatened? Or is there a genuine issue here that needs addressing? This simple pause can transform your entire life, because most regrettable reactions happen in the first 5 seconds. Strategy 2. The projection test. Remember how Jung said what irritates us about others reveals ourselves? Use this. When someone bothers you, immediately ask, am I seeing in them something I've disowned in myself? Not every irritation is a projection. Sometimes, people are genuinely behaving badly. But by asking this question, you catch at least 70% of your triggers before they control you. Write it out if you need to. This person's arrogance bothers me because I've rejected my own confidence. Boom! The trigger loses half its power immediately. Strategy 3. The witness position. This is about practicing that ego-to-self shift we talked about. Throughout your day, especially when emotions arise, take a mental step back and observe yourself. Instead of, I am angry, try, I notice anger is present. Instead of, I am anxious, try, I observe anxiety moving through me. This subtle shift in language creates psychological distance. You're no longer identified with the emotion. You're the awareness that observes the emotion. And what you can observe, you're not controlled by. Strategy 4. The night journal. Jung was obsessed with dreams and journaling because they gave access to the unconscious. Every night before bed, write down, what bothered me today? What pattern do I notice? What might this be teaching me about my unconscious? Don't just vent. Analyze. Look for the deeper meaning. Your irritations are messengers from your unconscious, trying to show you what needs integration. Over weeks and months, you'll see patterns. And once you see the pattern, you can break it. Strategy 5. The 4 functions. Jung identified 4 psychological functions: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. Most people over-rely on 1 or 2, and that creates blind spots that become triggers. If you're all thinking, emotional situations will bother you. If you're all feeling, logical criticism will trigger you. If you're all sensation, abstract concepts will frustrate you. If you're all intuition, practical details will annoy you. The solution? Deliberately develop your weaker functions. Take classes, read books, practice skills that don't come naturally. As you become more psychologically complete, fewer things bother you because you can navigate all types of situations. Strategy 6, the active imagination. When something really bothers you, don't just push it away. Engage with it consciously. Sit quietly and imagine a conversation with whatever's bothering you. If it's a person, imagine them sitting across from you. Ask them questions. Let them respond from your imagination. This sounds weird, but it's incredibly powerful. You're giving voice to the unconscious material. You're making it conscious. And remember, what becomes conscious loses its unconscious power over you. Strategy 7, the long view. Jung was all about the big picture. He looked at entire lifetimes, at collective patterns across generations. Practice this perspective shift. When something bothers you, imagine yourself at 80 years old looking back. Will this matter? Will you even remember it? Or zoom out further. Imagine the universe's perspective. In the cosmic scale, does this problem even register? This isn't about minimizing real problems. It's about right-sizing them. Most things that bother us are inflated by ego identification. The long view deflates them to their actual size. These 7 strategies applied consistently will radically change your relationship with life's difficulties. Not overnight. Jung's work is about transformation. Not quick fixes, but steadily, deeply, permanently. You're not becoming cold or indifferent. You're becoming wise, integrated, and genuinely unshakable. Chapter 7, the ultimate paradox. Before we wrap up, I need to share one final insight from Jung that ties everything together, and it's a paradox that will blow your mind. The goal is not to never be bothered by anything. Wait, what? Isn't that what this whole video was about? Here's the deeper truth Jung understood. True psychological maturity isn't about eliminating all emotional responses. It's about having appropriate responses that don't control you. A psychologically integrated person isn't a robot. They still feel anger, but they're not possessed by it. They still feel hurt, but they don't stay stuck in it. They still feel joy, but they don't cling to it. The difference is this: their emotions flow through them rather than defining them. They experience the full range of human feeling without being enslaved by it. Jung called this holding the tension of opposites. You can be bothered and unbothered simultaneously. You can care deeply about things while also being detached from outcomes. This is mastery, not suppression, not indifference, but conscious relationship with your inner world. Think of a wise grandparent who's seen everything. When drama happens, they're not cold or uncaring. They might even feel emotions about it. But there's a depth to them, a groundedness, that prevents them from being swept away. That's what Jung's work cultivates. Not the absence of feeling, but the presence of consciousness within feeling. And here's the final paradox. When you stop trying to never be bothered, you naturally become less bothered. When you accept that you're human, that you'll have reactions, that you'll sometimes get triggered, that very acceptance creates space around those experiences. They become less solid, less controlling. Jung's ultimate message? Embrace all of who you are, light and shadow, ego and self, reactive and responsive. Integration, not elimination. Wholeness, not perfection. That's how you become genuinely unshakable. So here we are. We've journeyed through Carl Jung's profound insights into human psychology, and you now have a roadmap to genuine psychological freedom. Let's recap the key insights. What bothers you reveals your unconscious. It's a mirror for shadow work. Your persona is not who you are. Stop defending the mask. Shift from ego to self. You are the awareness, not just the story. Use practical strategies daily. The pause, projection test, witness position, journaling, developing all functions, active imagination, and the long view. Embrace the paradox. Wholeness, not perfection. This isn't just theory. This is a practical path to transformation. But here's the thing. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. So here's my challenge to you. Choose one strategy from this video. Just one. And commit to practicing it every day for the next 30 days. Pick the one that resonated most deeply. Maybe it's shadow work. Maybe it's the witness position. Maybe it's the nightly journal. Just one for 30 days. And watch what happens. And I want to hear about your journey. Drop a comment below telling me, which strategy are you going to implement? What's one thing that currently bothers you that you want to work on? I read every comment, and I'll be here to support your process. If you found this valuable, check out my video on Stoicism and emotional mastery. It pairs beautifully with Jung's insights. And subscribe to this channel because we're diving deep into practical psychology, philosophy, and personal transformation every week. This isn't surface-level content. This is the real work of becoming who you're meant to be. I'll leave you with one final Jung quote that captures everything we've discussed. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who others expect you to be. Not the persona you've constructed. Not the ego defending itself against every perceived threat. But your authentic self, integrated, whole, and genuinely unshakable. The journey starts now, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.